All right, mic check, I'm good. So I'm Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association Podcast. My name is Max Ceron, and as always, I'm always looking for the cool, talented people across this country and nation to tell their stories. Today, I have someone that you probably have seen online. They do some pretty neat things. I know, like when this was booked, I was like, I know this person, but we actually don't know each other, but it's just the names out there. We have Darci Spiteri. She's here in Ontario, and she's with the IBEW second year apprentice. Darci, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, I know this has been a bit of a madness. We both have crazy schedules, and so it's 7 p.m. here on a work night, and we're gonna hammer. I have a weird background because I'm on the road. For the people listening to this, if it sounds a little off, I don't have all my crazy podcast equipment with me. This is on the fly on the road in a hotel. So. And we won't talk about the hotel. Yeah, best one ever, right? Best one ever. All right, perfect. So Darci, let's start at the beginning. Where are you, and like where do you call home?
I am in a little town called Campbellville, Ontario. So it's like a small little space kind of between Burlington, Hamilton, Milton, but it's just like a smaller town. So I am part of the Hamilton local for the IBEW, and I've been here for most of my life.
Yes, are you born and raised in the area?
I was born in Alberta, and I lived in Vancouver for a bit, and then we moved to Ontario. So pretty much since I was in grade 1.
Okay, so are your parents Albertans?
No. They were actually from here, and it was like my dad traveled like for work, and he got transferred, and that's kind of how we ended up on that side of the Canada. Yeah, that side of the map.
And then what took your family to BC before finally settling back here?
It was my dad's job, so he got transferred a lot, and I loved BC. I'd love to go back, but Ontario is where I have been for the majority of my life.
Majority of your life, yeah. So growing up in this area, we talked about how you're a part of the IBEW, and we'll talk a little bit about what that is about. But did you at an early age think I'm going to be an electrician someday, or I'm going to get in the trades? What was the conversations in your house growing up? Like your mom and dad, what did they do, and where did you think you were going to end up?
I thought I was going to end up living in Toronto, working for a magazine.
Oh, a magazine. Were you a writer or a graphic designer or?
No, but that is every movie and television show that you watch as, I feel like, a young female. That is always the leading lady works at a magazine and has this amazing job and lives in the city.
The Rom Com Dream. Yeah.
Exactly. So I always kind of wanted to go down like a creative type of job. I did a lot of art classes. I wanted to do graphic design. That was a bit more realistic in what I wanted to do, until I actually did it and realized it was not what I thought it would be. I like to be creative, but I think on my own terms, and I think doing design for other people and them criticizing, or like, it's hard, right? Like, So I think it's more something that I like to do for my own stuff. And I ended up working in marketing companies before I started in the trades. So I was a studio manager, and basically it would be kind of like a project manager. So, being a point person between accounts and the design team and getting the jobs through. But that, again, like I was living in Toronto, which is like the big city here, and it just got to be too expensive, and I wanted to find work outside of the city, and it's really hard in that line of work. So I kind of had some time to really think about what I wanted to do. And that's when I really started researching the trades and seeing all these other women in the trades and being inspired that way. And that's kind of how I first learned about the trades.
So if we go back to when you were coming out of high school, what were the steps that you first took in your education to become that point person within, that the marketing world? What did you do? It sounds like fun. I know people in marketing. It seems really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what did you do to start down that path?
It was all kind of really, so when I graduated, I was accepted into a digital media program, which is where I thought I could do like learning more about graphic design. I started in August. They had an early program that happened. So I took that and ended up deciding that it wasn't the path that I wanted to go down. And then my dad he was kind of going through a transition of his own he was in the corporate world, and then he decided to start his own business, and he started a print shop. So then that was where I was like, okay, well, this is sort of along the lines of what I want to do. So I was able to help them start up the business working. I did some graphic design for them. And from there is really where I actually learned more about different jobs that were actually out there, because we did work for a lot of different companies. And that's when we started working with marketing companies, and I got into that side of it from there. So my whole kind of career path before now was just fly by the seat of my pants, try it, learn that way. So I never really had a chance to really think about what I wanted to do. And a lot of the stuff at school for me, I think in high school, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of career fair stuff. Like I don't really remember having people coming in and showing like the trades and different career paths. So I think that they're just that I think now I see it more, like I go out to those type of things, and I think it's so important to see the different careers and have co-ops and try things before you're sent out there to figure out what you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah, and like I had a friend whose dad owned a print shop. There's quite a bit of technical stuff that goes on in a print shop. The machines are complex, and
Yep.
and really it's up to them to maintain them themselves and
Yep.
fix them. And there's a lot of mechanical, a lot of electrical, a lot of circuitry and connections. So, when you as a younger person looking at your father working with this stuff, was almost the printer cooler than what was being printed,
You know what? And when you say that now, like I think Darci today would see it that way, but I think I wasn't I wasn't really a tinkerer, I think, until now that I see kind of how stuff works. But that's very interesting to think of it that way.
Yeah, because those are incredible machines.
Yeah, like
The
we
things
would
they can
have,
do.
yeah, like this printer basically it prints, it cuts, and they would have, so it was a franchise that he bought, so they had people that would come in and service the machines and that kind of stuff. But it was so interesting to learn how to use it and figure all that stuff out.
And your mom, what did she do?
She stayed home with us when we were younger, and then she went back to school for like to be a dental assistant and worked part-time. And now she works with my dad and they run the business together. So
Good. So I mean, there's some practical applications in both of those. So you didn't fall too far from the tree there.
No.
So
I am an entrepreneur.
yeah. So then you're out there, you're working, climbing this ladder that you didn't even know you were on.
Yes.
Just through work, because work is work, and you decide to get out of TO because it's crazy expensive, which it still is, and it's kind of ridiculous. And
Yeah.
why the trades though? Like, I mean, there's other avenues, there's other job. You could have even maybe done what you did there somewhere else, right?
Yeah. It was so when I moved out of Toronto, I did try and find work outside of the city. It wasn't as easy, and I think a lot of people in that position tend to stay in their positions longer, so there's not that many jobs. Um, I ended up going to work for an animation company when I moved out, and it was so hard to commute into the city. Like I have a 10-year-old son, but at that point he would have been 3. So it was like leaving early in the morning, taking the GO train into the city, coming home. Basically, he's going to bed as soon as I get home. It was just too much. And I think with the trades, I always like in my 20s, I was interested in kind of doing my own. Like I remember getting this book and it was like telling me how to install a dimmer switch and I had bought myself a set of tools back then, and maybe it was kind of foreshadowing for what my life was going to be. But I think the trades really, it was because I wanted to be able to find work anywhere. I wanted to have a career that I was able to support me and my son. So the trades kind of really checked off those boxes. Um, there is a creative aspect to it, I find. I love to work with my hands. And one of the things that I really think about now is that I never hated my job before, but now I love it. I love being at work.
Mhm.
I walked outside today and it was like, it was so warm out, but it's like that fresh winter warm. And I'm like, this is what I get paid to do. Like, it's like, I have my tasks. I like having those, like, I know what my day is going to look like, and it's not always the same, but I enjoy having like things to do and working and seeing what I'm actually doing, like at each day, seeing what the progress is and the learning.
Mhm.
So
And you said about 10 years ago you started down this path. Now, what was the initial thing you signed up for? Was it like a camp or a week-long course, or did you sign up for a college course right away at a training center? What was it
uh,
that you did initially?
so I actually got a grant to go back to school. So I don't know if it's Canada wide, but in Ontario it was the second career grant. So when I was working at that animation studio with this grant, you had to have been laid off and then taken a contract position. So the animation company actually went into receivership and it was like this huge 500-person layoff. And then I took a mat leave position as an admin for the time being. And that's when I was like, okay, I can apply for this grant. And that's when I started to look really into the trade. So I did a pre-apprentice through the center in Burlington, and it was a condensed course. So I think it was 4 months. I can't remember exactly how long I was there, but it basically covered my basic and intermediate levels of school for trade school. I have to do them again, and I knew that would be what happened once I got signed as an apprentice. But I think what I didn't want to go onto a job site and not have some experience. I wanted
Mhm.
to have a little bit of background. So I ended up doing, it was a electrical course. They did have some where you could try electrical, plumbing, and carpentry, I think. But I don't know, electrical just kind of I seemed more interested in that, and I love what I'm doing now. So a lot of electricians that I had talked to before were like, you don't need to do the pre-apprentice, but if it's going to be paid for, like 100% do it. So it did set me back a little bit in my time frame to do my apprenticeship, but I think it really helped me when I went for my first level of schooling. Like I did
You're prepared.
exactly, yeah, and like it was hard being in the pre-apprentice coming from like not doing any math or science, and coming into it and being like, whoa, like I think I passed with just a 70. And it kind of like, I went in, I had this mentality that I wanted to do great and I wanted to be the best in the class. And it kind of was like a smack in the face. But when I went to trade school this time around, I set myself a goal. I was like, I'll get an 85, but be happy with an 80. And then I actually crushed it and got the 85. So, but it really made me see how an apprenticeship is so important, and doing like working on the job site and then going to school. Because this time around, like we were going through the code book and I was like, what is this? Like, what is a strap? What is this? Like, what are all these things? So now I'd worked for a year and a half, I think. So I knew what everything was. I could picture it, I could see it, and it just made it that much easier, which I'm glad that I had that. But yeah.
So, when you're looking at the list of trades, what was your reference points for electrician? Because really, they all pay pretty good. Like, there's two things I think about. Like, I was a single dad for a while, and I know single women. It's there's a couple things that are really important when you're a single parent.
Yeah.
One is freedom of mobility, because you're never really sure where you're going to end up. Like, there's movement, there's things that happen, and the other one is like financial freedom, but slash benefits and stuff for your kid, so that you don't like have to worry about the dentist and be able to pay for daycare and the medicine and all that stuff. So when you look at the trades as a whole, they kind of all cover that checkbox. Like welding, electricians, boilermakers, pipefitters, they all got really great programs. Why electrician? Did you have a friend? Did you see it? What was it that made you pick that specifically out? Because 10 years ago, if my memory's not way off, electricians weren't in big demand coming out of school. It was kind of a bit of a flush time for the trader.
Yeah. Like I feel like it's hard to get into. And like my cousin is an electrician, and my mom was always talking about her friend's son who is an electrician, and he made so much money. And that was kind of when I was like, well, I should just be an electrician. And then I was like, wait a second, why can't I? And that's kind of what started and I think what it was when I was doing the research, I was researching trades, but a lot of the articles that I had seen with women in trades and specifically single moms were the electricians. So I think I really resonated with that. And then it's kind of like it's opened up so much because I've done my welding now, and it's just like you can see so many of the different trades when you're out there, and
everyone's got to work together. Like, it takes everybody, and everyone's got their stages. They go wait for them to finish so that the next ones can come in, and everyone can't be stepping on each other because you get in the way, right? Like,
it's
like a big dance.
Exactly. It's like communication is key, but it doesn't seem to there's not it doesn't seem like a lot of communication is happening. We're like, get out of my way.
Sometimes
why are you here?
sometimes some versions of loud communication occur, but
where I'm like, hi, can you move that drywall for me, please?
So when you entered the pre-apprenticeship, with the bursary, the grant, was it a grant because you were a woman, or was it a grant because you were a second career? And okay, and then when you started, what was the representation of females in your class? Like, did you step in and you're like, okay, there's a few girls here, or were you like, I'm alone?
There was one other female. And I'm trying to think of some of the other class. So they also ran a program called WIST, which was Women in Skilled Trades. But I don't think it was running when I was there. I think like the intake was after. But it was me and one other girl for the pre-apprentice. And then when I was in trade school, there was 4 girls. and I think we were all separated. Like we had different groups that we were in, which we were like, I wonder if that's more for visibility. Like they wanted to have, like, because there was 4 blocks within that, they wanted to have at least one female in each class for that visibility.
Did you guys actually discuss that? Or you're like, this is
Who
for
was I?
show?
No, I think we were talking about it, and I was part of one where it was hybrid, so we were online and then we did our labs in class. So I had seen the other girl on camera, and I like reached out to her. I'm like, hey, you want to like work together? And like tried to get the other girls, and so it's yeah.
And how did it go? How was that pre-am class? So, like you said, you struggled more than you thought, but were there any obstacles that showed up that you didn't expect, or anything that like things that went really smoothly that you thought might have been obstacles?
I think it was definitely the math that was hard. And just because I hadn't been in school for 10 years as well, and it's like trying to get your brain back into that, and
Yeah.
not really remembering just like the algebra, like having to really get back into that, where like now I weirdly love it. Like I'll sit and do like, I have like math books that I'll like I like the algebra, like the puzzles with it. I think what was hard too was like our installs class. I always felt like I took too long to do things. But it's that I think what I've on my previous, or not my previous, my current job site, it's that repetition and like understanding that you're not going to be super fast at something that you've never done before, and like taking that time to really learn how to do it properly so that your speed comes later and you're not just doing it really fast and having to go back and fix things. So
Yeah.
I think I had to learn to give myself a little bit of grace.
Get
For
some
sure.
space.
Yeah.
And then you finished your pre-am, and was it work time at that point, or at that point it was like I will apply to the union to get in and try to wait for that first block of school?
Yeah. So I ended up working non-union for a bit with an electrician, and then keeping an eye on the intakes for the union. And I ended up getting, I think there was one other girl at the intake for the intake that I went to, and I was the only one that got in, like of the 2 of us. And it was a bit before I started. So we did the intake, and then I think it took about a little under a year to get out onto the first job site.
Really? So what did you do in between that? I mean, between the block of school and getting that first legit apprentice job?
Yeah, I dealt blackjack.
At the casino?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
so where I live, there's a casino that's like 10 minutes from me. So I was like, what's a job that I can take and then just leave when my apprenticeship starts? And it was a job that, like, we know my previous math experience. It like it scared me, and I was like, Darci, you're gonna just like you're gonna learn it, you're gonna do it, and like get over it. And I like it was fun. It was like, I think doing them, like having to be able to do the mental math and like figure all that out, it was stressful, but like again, the
You
repetition.
get the flow, yeah.
Exactly. Like I couldn't do it now probably because I'm not doing it every day, but it was definitely an interesting interesting job for sure.
Did you have to wear those like casino suits that the dealers wear and stuff like that?
Yeah, so it was I think
Every
it
time I
was
go to a casino, I notice that everyone's got these like outfits on. I was like, is that
yeah.
like standard or
No vest. I wish there was a vest. I feel like the vest would be cool, but it was just like a black button up and black pants.
Yeah.
And it was, and I was actually working there, I think when COVID started. Like, I think it was because I started my apprenticeship January 2020. So I had been, I think I even got COVID before COVID was even a thing. Like, I'm touching
Everyone's
like
just like,
all this.
yeah,
Yeah. Like, just, I was like super sick. And then I was like, what is this? And
yeah.
finally
You're
got better.
sicker
But
than you should be for a really
yeah,
long time.
exactly. And then, and then COVID was happening and I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. But yeah, so I ended up leaving there and starting my apprenticeship and have not looked back.
Yeah. Now, the electrician, being an electrician is what's the word I'm looking for? Trade mandatory
Red Seal?
compulsory.
Oh,
It's a
compulsory.
compulsory trade where you have to be apprentice to practice basically
Yeah.
to do it, right?
Yeah.
Now, in terms of your workflow, and you get out there as a level one, what are some of the jobs and duties a level one does or is not allowed to do? For people that don't understand the scale of work for electricians.
Yeah. So my first job was at we built a school. It was like a ground up block work. Basically, in the beginning, I was cutting material, prepping for what we had to give to the block, like the bricklayers. So we have these boxes and conduit that we would have to put in, and so we just I was cutting the conduit into specific pieces. I was pretty much like a runner, like getting material that was needed for the journeyman that I was working with. I would put on receptacles so I was there for about a little under a year, I think. It was a long job for that point, but so the beginning, it was like once the job kind of ramped up, I was really just getting material for a lot of the journeymen and helping them with stuff. And I think at the time I was like, oh, like I want to do more, but I look back on it and I learned so much about the material that is needed and like that aspect of the job. And seeing a job from start to finish was really good too, and like not coming on halfway through. But I think it all depends on who your foreman is and what they're comfortable with and what, like, I guess their comfort level of what you can handle. And I think as soon as I moved to my next job site, I was almost a second year and doing way more and seeing more progress in myself as well. But I think it's just nothing too crazy, but just getting your feet wet and learning how to be on a construction site and different things like little things like learning how to carry a ladder or how to carry a bundle of pipe. And it's like, it's weird. And then as soon as you figure that out, it's so much easier. And so I definitely learned a lot on that first job site.
There's a big emphasis from young people coming out of school training programs into apprenticeship to climb the ladder quickly. And I understand that desire to get out of school, get a job and prove it. Like, I'm going to climb this ladder. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to do these things. But there's really a lot to be said about learning every skill from the bottom up. And like, I was a laborer for a couple of years before I got into welding, just as a welder's helper. But that taught me so much about prep, knowing what needs to be there, how many extension cords I'm going to need, how many buckets I'm going to have to bring for carrying stuff. All these little things that save you so much time when you start getting later. Yeah, because then you don't have to go back to the truck or to the site 30 times because you keep forgetting something. You're like, no, I know we're going to need this and this and this. And I should take an extra one of these just in case. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so many little things that, like, as you go through, you pick up little tricks and little things. But yeah, being able to see the whole, like, I think a lot of the time I think I would rush and be like, oh, I just want to do, but then like I really learned to slow down and think about what I was going to be doing to save that time. Cause there was many times where I'm like, oh, I need this. And like, you learn that. And I worked with one guy and I was always like, what would Zach do? What would Zach do? And it like has forced me to really think it through. And that's one thing too, that I used to love watching the journeymen that I would work with when they would be thinking of things and like planning it all out. And like, I remember standing in the room and having no idea what they were talking about and just being like, one day I will understand. And now I'm closer to understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. So you are officially a second year apprentice.
Yeah.
When are you hoping to get in to do your third block?
So I should, with my hours, hit third in by mid-March. I think the 17th of March is when I should switch over. So that means I get a pay increase. And then they did send, like the ministry sent me a letter that I am ready to do my next block of school. But so basically what happened was I did basic in March. And I went March to June, I think it was. And then I took the welding course. So I hadn't done electrical for a bit. So I wanted to defer my schooling until I had been on a job site again for a little bit longer. But I really wanted to do the welding course. And I figured if I had gone back to work, it would have been really hard to stop and do the course because it was a full 12 weeks, like every day. But yeah, I'm excited that I'm gonna get that pay increase. That's always the best. And school's so much harder than like being on the job site. I work 7, I'm home by 3:30. I'm actually like 10 minutes away from my job site right now. And school was like, it's so much more work after after hours kind of thing, like your homework and studying. So I'm not eager to go back to school just yet, but trying to think what the job site I'm on now could be a long haul here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that's for the future of all tradespeople is really multiplying their skill sets. And it's something that we're seeing in industry that's used to be like, oh, you can do two things, cool, but no one really cared. So now it's like almost like you must have more than one set of skills to be really employable or to think about climbing any type of corporate or professional ladder. Now, I know many welders that work with electricians or electricians that work with welders, and they work together in fabrication shops and how important welding is to electricians, which most people don't automatically think of. Like you think of residential electricians, they think of cables running in their house and stuff, but they don't think about all the boxes and the brackets and the framing and all the hangers and all these things that need to be kind of built on site because you don't really know until you're in there. These things have, and if they're going to be holding something up, they probably will need to have a CWB certification because it's structural. So these things that people don't think about, but what made you think about it? Why did you decide to be like, I'm going to pick up some welding?
I think I thought because I was like, I want to have two like adding the skills, right? I don't know, welding just seems so bad and like super cool. I think too, like the whole like craft side, like being able to make furniture or do like at home stuff. And then a big draw too was because if I'm laid off from electrical, I wanted to have something else that I could also like if we like our hall's been pretty slow right now, so it's like if I could go pick up welding jobs, like because as like I can't go work non-union if I'm not working when I'm with the union, right? So because because the welding is not direct competition with electrical, I can pick up welding jobs if I needed
If
to.
you need to, yeah.
Yeah. And if I go out as a welder for my apprenticeship, I would get journeyman's rate if I go out, because we will have some calls where welding's needed. So that was also a draw for it. And I just thought of the other one and it's escaped me. Exactly. Like the videos that I could make look so much cooler. And yeah, I think just wanting to add to my list of skills was definitely a big part of it.
So how did you do in the welding course? How did you find it compared to the electrician's course?
It was harder than I thought. It definitely, again, it was that same mentality that I have, that I'm like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to be the best. And then like my rod sticks. Like,
damn it.
Like, yeah, this is so hard. What's happening? But then I did pretty good. I definitely had a lot of those like moments where I'd bring my instructor and I'm like, look at that. It's like curling up. He's like, yeah, show off. So I did so my flat test plate I passed. It goes flat, horizontal, vertical, and overhead.
Yeah.
So I did flat I passed, and I did 2 plates, my second one. So I did my horizontal and vertical, but I ended up failing my horizontal, but I got my vertical. So
then you only have 90 days to get that horizontal or you lose the vertical. Yeah.
So I went in and did my horizontal and passed again, and then I did my overhead and passed first time. So it was
good.
It was good, but it's definitely hard trying to figure out like where your body needs to be and like getting yourself set up properly. But it was very like, I loved just being in the booth and like have my music on and feeling all bad.
Burning away. Yeah.
Exactly. Burning away. But yeah, I think like I like that we have at our hall, we have the weld shop, so I can go in and practice anytime I need. I want to go back in because like you said, like the brackets and stuff, like I was just welding the test plates. So I think learning how to weld different materials, like it's going to be definitely different being on site and having different, like you're outside or you're inside. Like I was kind of in a controlled.
And it's not optimal situations on the
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, but I enjoyed it, and I want to be able to. Now I'm like, I need to find a little welder that I can have at home, and I want to do some fireplaces. See if I can do
them.
that.
They're very reasonably priced now. Like, I mean, we talk about it all the time on the show, how technology has created an ability for everyone to become a hobbyist welder. Really,
Yeah,
it's not hard. It's a couple $100, Princess Auto, you're good to go. Like,
yeah. I need to look into that for sure.
so this is a good time to take the break for our sponsors, because what we're going to do after we get back from the break is we're going to talk about the projects you got going on now, like Women on Site and some of your passion, pet projects that are happening. So everyone stay tuned with Darci Spiteri here on the CWB Association Podcast. We'll be back right after these messages.
The CWB Association is new and improved and focused on you. We offer a free membership with lots of benefits to anyone interested in joining an association that is passionate about welding. We are committed to educating, informing, and connecting our workforce. Gain access to your free digital publication of the Weld magazine, free online training, conferences, and lots of giveaways. Reach out to your local CWB Association chapter today to connect with other welding professionals and share welding as a trade in your community. Build your career, stay informed, and support the Canadian welding industry. Join today and learn more at cwbassociation.org.
And we're back here on the CWB Association Podcast. My name is Max Ceron. Thank you for staying with us for today's episode. We are having lots of fun here with Darci, who's a member of the IBEW, is an electrician, who also is a welder, and it seems like a lady of many talents and skills. And, before the break, we were talking about you finishing up your welding course. You're working as an electrician, looking to hone these skills. But obviously, as a woman, and in the trades, and the stats for electricians are better. So I think it's around 8% of electricians are women. Welding is 4%, so it's half. Which is abysmal to say the least.
Yeah.
So finding community, finding support, finding like-minded resources is that much tougher, right? So what made you, or how did you even come up with this idea of trying to develop something?
So I think so. Basically, Instagram is an amazing trades community. I met a lot of other women in trades there, and basically there was four of us: myself, Tessa, Constanza, and Samara. So Samara is a sheet metal worker, Constanza is an environmental coordinator, and Tessa is a red seal bricklayer. So we had been messaging to set up a meetup finally. Like, I think because it was COVID when I really got into the trades, we really found Instagram to be a space to connect with other women. So from there, Constanza and Tessa had reached out to myself and Samara to be like, hey, we're thinking like we really want to get this group started. And from there, it just kind of has really snowballed into this amazing community. We started with, I think, 15 women that came out to a picnic that we had, to the end of the year event that we had, which was, we had almost 50 women.
Now, this group, is it geographically beneficial to be in the GTA for this picnic, or is it open to anyone around the world, and you try to coordinate other get-togethers for others?
So right now it's just GTA, Ontario and Ottawa, because so Tessa she's in Ottawa, so we have her as a rep out that way. It is something we would love to expand because there definitely is a need for it. And I think there's not a lot of groups like what we're doing right now. And it's like, there's so much emphasis on getting women into the trades and bringing us here, but then there's nothing for the retention piece. Like, we're sent out onto a job site by yourself. You don't see any other women. Maybe you see one, and it's like, I think for me, I have very supportive friends, but like talking to them, they don't really understand what it's like. So having other women that you can talk to and have conversations with that kind of get it a bit more is what we've really learned. And we started it, and we're just going to do some meetups, and it's just hearing the stories from the women of how it's really benefited them. Like, a lot of women were like, I really wanted to leave the trade, and coming out to this event and meeting these other women has really empowered me to go out after an event. It's like we're all just like high on this, like we're just like, yes, we can do this. And it's cool to see that, and just know that really exactly. And so right now we are in our we started in, I'd say, I think May was our first event. So we went till December. We had our last event, and now we're starting to try and get some monthly meetups happening, and then 3 big events, which would be paid events that we have like catered, and we kind of go big for our big events. But it is like, it's been amazing to see how many women are interested in it, and even supportive through across Canada. Like we have people in the UK that are buying our merch and supporting from the other side of the world. So it is something I think that's needed, not just in Ontario. Like it needs to go across Canada, and it's just kind of trying to find other people to help us along that way, because
Kind of carry the torch. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, like we're just trying to really, I think, figure out the process and how it can then work to expand.
Now, when you sat down as a group of four to lay out this group,
Mhm.
what was the mandate or the mission statement that the group kind of laid out as? These are the rules. These are the boundaries, I guess, of what we're looking to do.
I think the main thing is there is a lot for women in trades, but there are other women that are working in construction that aren't necessarily a trade, that feel, I think, sometimes that they don't belong in these groups. So this is kind of where our group is different. It's not just trades. It's like Constanza's an environmental coordinator, and she's on site and she understands. So we wanted to make sure it was not just for trades, but anyone who's working in a male dominated industry, on a construction site, like manufacturing, and just not really like having like open to everyone in that
Mhm.
sense.
And then in terms of what are you looking to offer? If someone says, "Oh, I'm looking at this group, I want to join," is it just conversation, just meetups, or are you looking to develop a resource? I don't know, like just what 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 is it that like you're like, hey, we're gonna give you this,
I think it's just we want we have so we this year we launched a website
Okay, awesome.
where we have a forum that people can come in, and we've got different groups for different jobs, so you can find other people that are in that same career as you to have like start conversations. It's like it's really open, like it's really kind of what you want to take from it. Like we've laid out all these things, and it's like you can be a part of the website, you can come for our drop-in events, you can come to our big events. And then it's been really neat to see friendships forming from this group too. Like people would like they'll go for dinner and they'll like send a message being like, hey, like if you're in this area. So we're seeing a lot of different things coming from it, and it's growing in its own way too. And like there's just kind of, I guess we're just kind of seeing how it goes to see like where this is snowballing too.
Well, you start on Instagram, and that's a community of its own that is
Uh-huh.
it's in some ways easy to grow, but in other ways tough, right?
It is, yeah.
It's got other barriers. But then
Yeah.
as soon as you decide to build a website and have a forum, now you're off of it, Instagram. Now you're in another realm of space,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And do you find that there's people that are parts of one but not the other, or vice versa?
Yeah. So I'm trying to think when we actually launched the website. It would have been like it's only been live for about a month, I think. So just I think we're posting on, like we still post like to Instagram and there, like at LinkedIn also. So it's just I think setting those reminders to people that our website is available. But I think what's hard is like we have so many avenues to be a community in, right? Like you're used to Instagram and having Instagram chat, and it's hard to have like another space to check. So I think what we're trying to figure out now is how to get more conversations going. And I think that's more what the forum would be for, and having like you could just like you get home from work, check what some people are saying. And we post a lot of our event stuff there too. So we're just kind of like this year really is learning and data collection, and see how to improve next year and what's working, what's not.
Is there a long-term strategy that's being developed? You know, are you looking at where is this next year, 3 years, 5 years? I don't know.
Yeah. So what we, like, I think right now I think before we were like, okay, we want to do it bigger next year and see how we grow. But I think we literally started in May and just like flew by the seat of our pants. Like we had no strategy. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do this event. And the four of us together are this like, we have this amazing energy. We work really well together. And I think that's why this has been such a success, because we understand each other and we complement each other in different areas. And it's been good to, I think, this year wanting to do everything the same again and just really refine the process. And then from there, like we set our goals for this year. And then I think next year is when we'll kind of set a bit more of our long-term goals and where we want to be, because we definitely want to grow this. And I think that's like growing the membership. We're reaching out for sponsorships right now. Like everything we basically did last year was like we funded it, like our time. We put so much blood, sweat, and tears into this project. And the way it worked is we would sell tickets for the events, and that's how we paid for the actual event.
Mhm.
So we're now trying to look for sponsorships this year, just like it's like there's little things, right? Like all the admin stuff to get going, like a website and so I think getting that side of it worked out.
That's a lot of work. Like it's
Like on top of a full-time job.
yeah, and for the four of you, who delegates what, and I mean I commend you guys for taking on a project like that. Like I'm a person, we're probably of the same breed where you take on project after project after project, but then there's those moments when you're sitting down for 8 seconds and you're like, I wish I could do nothing. Like literally nothing for a few hours would be nice.
I know. And it's like, it is a labor of love for sure. And like, it's the back end of it is definitely hard, like all the planning and, but we've got, so we this year we started, we've made a volunteers list. So we're trying to get more help from like the women, just like, they're like, let us know like what we can do. We want to be a part of it. We want to help. So it's now kind of setting up those little areas where we can have help. Like before like the four of us, now we finally have titles. So we know what our jobs are and what we can then delegate. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then in terms of how this aligns with your career, and all four of your careers, you guys are almost like active recruiters now. You're going to be on site, you're going to be working, and you're going to see another girl, and you're going to be like, hey, have you heard about Women on Site? Are you interested?
Yeah, it's so funny because when I got on my job site, I saw this other girl walking towards the site and I could see her from the window and I'm like, there's a woman. And she's actually the concrete foreman. And I was like, but then like I get nervous because I'm like, I don't want to be like super like, hey, you're a woman, you want to join our thing? And like, so I'm kind of like I'm like gonna stay on the outside.
Because guys do that. We're like, hey, you're a guy, want to play softball this weekend? Like, we don't care. Like, you shouldn't care either, right? Like,
I'm very much like, I think my personality is like, I always like kind of sit back and like assess the situation and see like what's going on. And then I saw her today and I was like, oh, like I just like look away and like walk away.
You have business cards maybe you start leaving business cards.
Yeah. She does hold the key to the women's washroom, so I have to interact.
Oh.
So that's my in. That's my in. But it is like talking about that, like I remember seeing a this other woman at the grocery store, like in all her high vis stuff. And it was almost like I was in my work gear, and it's like we didn't want to make eye contact. Like I was like trying to, but she would like look away. And I'm like, I really want to like talk to you and see what you do and tell you about women on site. But we were coming back from our founders meeting, and there was another, like we were at Tim Hortons. I was with Constanza and Samara, and there was this woman in front of us in a high vis jacket, and Constanza just looks at her and she's like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "That's what I just need to do. Like, I just need to be like, what do you do?" And like,
It's
we
not
told her
rude.
about, no, exactly. So you know what? I'm gonna channel this, and I'm gonna talk to her tomorrow.
I mean, the worst that can happen is someone tells you, "Hey, I don't
Yeah.
want to talk to you." That's fine. Fair, you know.
Exactly. Stop drawing more attention to us.
No, we need more attention, more attention.
Exactly.
Bring down the patriarchy. Yeah.
Yes. Uh,
Now, do you see yourself in the future as, you know, a foreman that would, you know, or a business owner where you're looking to hire and progress women, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like actively, because you know, I find that that's an interesting thing. I've been on many work sites where the men are like, we don't hire women, and I'm like,
yeah.
really? Like you'll actually make that stance? You'll actually say, and this is not uncommon. Well, they
Really.
disrupt the work site, or they disrupt the flow, or you know, then people lose focus, and all these disgusting things. And I think, like, you know, I would love for a woman to be a boss, to be like, you know what? I'm just hiring women. Those men,
Exactly.
they just
Yeah.
complicate things, you know, with their rage and their anger and their smelly feet. You know, like, no, it's
Yeah.
like, do you see that as a thing, or it's that, or that's not the angle? It's just no, just support and help and
Yeah. I've kind of been thinking about it lately too. I think like getting like almost being like halfway through my apprenticeship, it's like, where do I see myself? And I I want to build a house with all women trades. Like I
Mhm.
like that is my dream. Um I would I think I'd like to try and run a job. Like I do have a bit of like the project man, like my career before is definitely
Mhm.
not something that I can't use in my new career. I like the project management side of it. Um, but I don't know. I think I could see myself doing my master's and maybe possibly having my own business, and I 100% would hire female like an
Mhm.
apprentice. Um, and yeah, like I think I could see myself doing like custom homes, or I don't know. I'm starting to think about it now too. It's like I love the new construction. Like I'm on a low rise right now. Yeah, it's 6 stories, and I'm loving it because it's all that repetition. Like I'm in the suites, I'm doing things over and over again, and I'm seeing how that definitely has helped me in doing things
Yeah,
faster and learning.
getting in the zone and the tips and the shortcuts. And,
Yeah, exactly. Like I like that part, and the job that I was on before this one, it was different. It was more like renovation type stuff. Like we were in like the Sheridan College doing like redoing lights and stuff, and I did miss the new construction side of things.
yeah,
And like
crawling through old girders, pulling cable, not as good.
I was
Yeah.
like, I want like an empty room. I want to be able to put my ladder up. I don't want that desk to be there. And like it was just like so much harder. And I really like, I think it really messed with my head. Like I had gotten to a point where I was like, am I too old to do this? Like, am I getting to that age where like I'm gonna be 40 this year? So it's like
This is the existential crisis.
I know. I'm like, I have like my knee pads. I'm like, why do my knees hurt so much? Like, and that was one thing I was thinking about today too. Is like the whole like mentality of like PPE is not like just do it. Like who cares? Your knees don't need to be good now. Like, and like I think just trying to make sure I have that mentality of like my body is I only have one, and like
Yeah, like I wear my welding knee pads to garden now. Like I mean,
yeah.
it's like no, you know what? I'm too old. I just don't like pain. Why make myself hurt for no reason? Like it seems so dumb now. Like
I know, and like why is that such a thing? Like because I was talking with one of the journeymen at work, and he's like, yeah, like I wouldn't wear the knee pads because of what people would say to me, and I'm like, but he's like, but now I would. Like now that my body is broken.
broken. Yeah. I can't get out of my couch, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I would
But
say to all the listeners, PPE, go for it. Who cares what you look like? You
yeah,
only have one body, one set of eyes, one set of ears. Yeah, you
yeah,
got 10 fingers, so fingers are optional, but you
yeah.
don't want to lose your knees.
No, you're right. No, and I think that was hard too. It's like I don't know, like coming on. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like I like totally went on a tangent there.
That's okay. It was a good one.
Like
All
I think
right.
I'm feeling my knees right now. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm coming up on 14 hours of work now, so we're
Oh
both
yeah.
we're getting to the silly stage.
Yeah, we're just like, what's happening? Where
Yeah.
am I?
I think I got a box of old chicken wings somewhere I gotta eat, but whatever. Like so now, for in terms of upcoming events, upcoming projects, what's coming up for Women on Site? Is there something that people that are listening to this could look forward to in the next few months?
Yeah.
What's next on the list?
So we have International Women's Day coming up on March 8th, and that's
Hmm.
also falling within Women in Construction Week, which is amazing. So we do have a meetup that's happening across Ontario. So we have one in Ottawa, we have one in Kitchener, we have one in Whitby and Barrie and Toronto. So
Wow.
we've partnered with 5 restaurant, bar, brewery type places. Some of them are women owned, which we really wanted to showcase for International Women's Day, and they've allowed us to have a space there. So we have postings on our Women on Site Instagram where you can see which locations we're at, but we're basically going to be doing 5 meetups that day. And then from there, June 20, like later June is when our first big paid event will be happening. So we have 3 big events that we're planning for the year. But our website and Instagram is the best place to keep an eye on those kind of dates.
I'm just looking at my calendar right now. Today's the 2nd. This will be released on the day of the 8th. So I don't know if people will
Amazing.
be able to listen to it in the morning and still be able to make it out to an event, but I hope they do. I hope they do.
Yes, yes. But next year's event, but we'll have these are going to
June.
be
Yeah.
June, or we're going to be planning to do these monthly meetups. So
Mhm.
that'll be something. So I think we're planning to do the first Wednesday of every month would be a meetup.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of the interview, and there's a couple things. First of
Mm.
all, let everyone know how to find you. Where are all the spaces, the websites, the Instagrams? What are all the handles?
So you can find Women on Site on Instagram. We also have womenonsite.ca. You can find my personal Instagram at Sparks to Sparkle. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, Darci Spiteri.
Awesome. And then for the last question before we roll out of here, what would you give as a piece of advice to a female on site? Regardless of the group, like yes, join the group, 100%. But even
Yeah.
just for them to take away, if you're a female on site somewhere in the world listening to this episode, what's something that you could say to them to maybe inspire them or guide them?
I would say don't ever change who you are to be in this role. Like I had someone tell me that don't get your nails done, don't wear makeup on site, don't wear pink, don't do this. And like, I didn't ever want to change who I was just to be able to fit into the job site. I can still do the job regardless of what I look like. If I want to wear makeup, it's for me, not anyone else. I have my nails done. Like the guys are like, how do you work with those? I'm like, I don't know, I just do it. But I think don't ever try and change who you are just to be on the job site, and wear your PPE. Definitely wear your PPE.
That's great advice, and advice that I have followed too. Like I've always been a very strange person. I paint my nails and have long hair. I used to have mohawks and piercings, and people would be like, "You can't do that on the site," and I think, "Why?
Why?
Shut
It's
up!"
not. Yeah, it's like it's not preventing me. Like if I can't do my job, then tell me like what's happening. But
Yeah.
me
No.
being me is not gonna.
And yes, everyone, wear your PPE. Great advice. Great advice.
The best
All right.
advice ever.
Darci, thank you very much for taking the time out tonight. I know
Yeah,
you've been
thank
very
you.
busy to be on the podcast. Hope you had fun.
I did. It was very fun, and I love that we have these spaces to talk about this stuff. So thank you for having me on the podcast.
You bet. And all month we're featuring women from across Canada during Women Empowerment Month here at CWB. It's part of our initiatives to help with representation of all kinds across the trades. So, for you and for everybody that's working out there so hard, we thank you.
Love it.
All right. So for all the people that have been staying and watching the shows, thank you very much. Keep downloading, keep sharing, keep liking everything that we're doing. Check us out on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, I don't know, all of them. We're out there at the CWB Group Welding, and support and become a member. It's free. And if people wonder what we do with the money, this is what we do with the money. We help. We invest it back into the community. So, make sure you sign up for your free membership, and stay tuned for the next episode. Can't wait to see you there.
We hope you enjoyed the show.